Welcome to Projects for All. My name is Mike, and today we got another table saw to check out. I'm super excited. This table saw, since the day I saw it, has intrigued me. On paper, it's got everything you want in a small table saw. It's got a stand, folds up, you can put it on a shelf. It's 10 inches, it's 15 amps. It has a rack and pinion fence system just like the $650 DeWalt we did a review on. Let's get in here, let's check out the quality, let's do the walk around, and we'll see if it's something that could be a good option for you. If you're just starting or you're remodeling your house, this could be a good budget option. This is probably the most requested video on my channel, this saw, and for good reason. This thing checks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. And I, for one, I'm really hoping that this thing delivers. Got our, as always, standard blade guard, kickback paw, always more or less the same design. Miter gauge. Oh, they're always so bad. This looks pretty bad. At least I can read the numbers easy. Push stick, about as flexible and goofy as the Evolution was. Nice elbow. It's gonna be a little assembly. I have no idea what's in this box. I've never seen this saw in person. Looks like almost no assembly needed. Cool. I love no assembly needed. It's very lightweight. I haven't even looked at the instructions yet, but this would appear to be all the assembly that we have to do. I already put the fence on it, but I'll show you how that goes, obviously, here in a little bit. Let's get this thing on the floor and let's walk around and see what we got. So let's start on the front like we always do. You get your power switch on, obviously. Underneath here is the red button for off, so pressing this paddle turns it off. There's a hole in the side here. So you push this in and you can put a padlock through here to lock this thing down. So if you have little kids at home or an orange cat you don't trust, you can lock this thing down. This is your blade height control. Up, and that's blade down. You have an angle adjustment. There's a lever right here. Unlocking that lever allows you to swing from 0 to 45 degrees. However, there's a button right here. So if you unlock your angle control and you press this button, you can move it over another 2 degrees. You can do that on the 45 side too. You get 45, 6, 47. If you bring it all the way up and press that button down, you can go another 2 degrees. You got your push stick sticking right out of the front of this thing, which is just the best design ever. I love this design. You don't even have to think. You can reach down, sweep across, grab this thing. It's easy to pull out. Is it the best push stick on planet Earth? Nah, not really. It's a little flexible and, you know, it's just plastic. But in the end, having it where you can get it so easily with no fooling around, it clicks in there positively so it'll stay secure. I love this. You got your rack and pinion fence system. Rack and pinion fence with this knob on the front to do little tiny adjustments, but you don't need that. You can just grab it and pull it side to side. Fence locking lever. Down is lock. Secure, unlock, adjust. Here on the right side, you have your fence locking lever again. Man, that thing locks positive. It's big, it's easy to get to. You got some handles. You got a handle here, a place to grab if you're gonna pick the saw up. You also have a really nice hard rubberized handle for carrying this once it's all folded up. You have your blade guard, mounting point or storage point right here. It attaches just the same way it would on the riving knife. And there's a little bracket down here to attach that. There you go. Here on the back side, we got a 2.5 inch dust board, which is very cool. 2.5 inches. And you have your 2 wrenches for removing and installing your blade. You have a storage spot for an elbow. So you can direct the dust collection or point it down at the ground if you're not using any dust collection, and that is very cool. Behind here is your attachment point for your kickback paw. Attaches like it's on the riving knife and just sits back here. On the left side, you have a few things going on. You got your miter gauge, obviously. It just fits in this bracket here. Slides in here. Standard stuff. Plastic. Exactly what I'd expect from a $350 little table saw. A little keeper bracket for your cord. Not bad. With your elbow removed and your kickback pawl removed, you'll see this wing nut and this little adjusting lever up under the back here. We're going to talk about this at length because this is probably one of the more innovative things I've seen on a table saw in a while. So that brings us to the top. Is 24 inches by 22 inches. This is not a big table saw. I mean, it's meant to be compact. That is, I guess, the whole point of it, but it isn't big and it sits pretty low. Height to the tabletop is just a hair above 33 inches, which is a little bit low for me. At 6'1", it feels kind of awkward, but it is what it is. You need the legs to fold up. It's portable. It's crazy lightweight. These are the things you have to deal with to get those advantages. So let's talk about our fence. This fence, I really should get the scale out on this one because this is probably the lightest weight fence I have ever felt. It weighs like nothing, like absolutely nothing. The fence has 3 mounting points right here. 1, 2, and 3. There's this notch here on the end of the fence. Both sides are the same. And you literally just line that up with the notch and drop it on. Locking it down, one on either side. Ridiculously easy to lock down. To release this fence, flip that up, and when you pull it up, it stays and it pulls the latch out. So that frees up the front. Locking it down. Super simple and very secure. There's an auxiliary fence here. Take this and you can flip it around, and it has 2 positions. The lowest position here allows it to be completely flush with the tabletop. So if you have this thing stretched way out, you can use this as a support for your material. You take it out of the bottom slot there and move it up and click it in. And now you have a little mini fence for very fine material, or if you're using the blade guard, you need the extra space for the push stick or whatever you're using. And it just flips around, stows back on top. You have 3 positions you can lock your fence in. You have this for the left side of the blade, and for 0 to get the fence all the way to the blade is here. For a little extra space, right here, you get an extra 4 inches on the end here. If you're using the farthest position for the fence, you get 25 3/4, really is about as far as you get. If you move the fence to this inside position here, you use the white, which is 21 3/4 max. But this position here will get you all the way to 0 to your blade. This one here will get you 4 inches away from your blade, but gets you an extra 4 inches on the end. There is no provision for the left side position. You can cut on the left side, but there is no scale for it. So if you're cutting on the left side of your blade, you're going to be using a tape measure. You also have this nice big fat, very adjustable pointer that makes it very easy to read. I like this. Here's our throat plate. Latches down. There's a little button here that gives you a little latch to lock it down. It is just regular cheap ABS plastic, but it actually has a couple adjusting points. There's 4. 2 in the back, 2 in the front. So you can make this flat and it just fits in and pushes on down in there and locks itself in. All right, so let's talk about our blade. 10 inches, 15 amps, riving knife, locks down with this lever, releases. The riving knife itself is captive, which means you just can't pull it out of there, but it sits in 3 different positions. There's a hole on the side here for a detent, and the spring-loaded plate holds it in. And then it locks down with the lever. 2 wrenches are included. You get one for the outside, and then an open-ended for the back side. This arbor nut is not the smoothest thing ever. These threads might need to be chased. You can feel burrs, it stops in places. I mean, it's not cross-threaded or really messed up, but it is not the smoothest one I've felt. Got your arbor nut, keyed washer. Included blade, 24 teeth, but extra fine finish. We'll see how this does. The nut on the back side is keyed for the arbor, and that's how you get it off of there. Every freaking time. Dado blade compatible. Up to 5/8 thick. So for my set, that is both outside blades, of course, and all 3 chippers, but no spacers and no shims. They tell you to lower your riving knife to its lowest position because it's captive and you can't pull it out of there. And then the nut and washer, they tell you not to use. When you buy the table insert from Skil, they include a combination nut and washer that will fit this. So in a lot of cases, what I've done is just use the nut, but they tell you not to do that. So a lot of you like to make your own table insert. I get that, but it seems like to get the proper hardware to attach a dado to this, you have to buy their insert. With your blade raised all the way, if this riving knife is not locked in, it prevents you from putting this on. I don't know if they intended to do that, but it's kind of cool because I would have just left the riving knife loose. 2.5 Allen, and this thing was off by a mile from the factory. So let's start here. We'll get this adjusted. We're high in the back and low in the front. All right, throat plate's flat. It only took a second to adjust. A little high in the middle, but there's no adjustment in the middle. I wish there was 2 screws here, but there aren't. So close enough. But there's a nice bevel on the back side of this to help you feed smooth, prevent this from getting caught if you don't have this adjusted properly. This could easily catch a board on the back side. I like the bevel. It's a nice little detail. So the first and arguably the most important calibration or adjustment is your blade square to the miter slot. Once we know this, we can check the fence versus the miter slot. We are just a hair past 5 inches, like a hair. We'll take our blade, rotate it back so we measure the same position on the blade on the other side and just a hair past 5 inches. This blade is 100% straight from the factory. Let me show you the adjustment if this blade is not perfectly parallel to this miter slot, because on this saw, it's innovative and it's cool, and I haven't seen this before, and I'm actually pretty excited. So when I pulled this out of the box and I was just looking at it, I saw this, and I absolutely couldn't believe my eyes. To adjust your blade parallel to your miter slot, they've literally given you a tool-free way to do that. Wing nut unlocks it. Screw this in and out to move your blade back and forth. I am not going to fiddle with this because mine is perfect. Holy crap. This is table saw number 5, I think. 5 table saws we've done, including this one. I've never seen anything like this on any table saw I've ever used. Not only do they give you tool-free way to do this, they put the instructions to do it right here. Absolutely amazed. There's big manufacturers that we've done that don't even give you the ability to do this. And they did it, and you don't even need to go find a wrench. It's amazing. So let's check our fence is parallel with our miter slot. And this is gonna be, as always, really hard for me to show you guys, but it is tight here and maybe about half a millimeter of a gap on this side. So this fence is pitched this way, just ever so slightly. If we lock it down, actually makes it a touch worse. You have a wider gap back here. So how do we adjust for that? Each one of these is basically an Allen screw. You have your included Allen wrench, And you can loosen these and move them independent. So there's 6 of them on here, and you can adjust it 6 different ways. I loosen the one in the front and the back, and now I can tweak my fence a little bit, and it is spot on perfect now. Just a little tweak. Keep in mind though, because these are independent of each other, you have to check them all. This fence has 3 positions, and all 3 positions have to be checked. So this one's perfect. No adjustment needed on this one, and I'll check the one on the other side of the blade just for fun, but I'm not even going to show you, and I never use that. I don't know if I've ever made a cut on the left side of my saw blade. So let's push our fence over till it just touches the carbide tips, and we'll check our scale, which is off the tiniest little bit. This is a 4mm Allen. It is different from the Allen key that is included with this. And from where I'm standing, that's just about perfect. Good enough. Is the fence perpendicular? And it is. Yep, spot on there. But actually, I tricked you because I had to put 3 sheets of paper underneath here to get this to be perpendicular. So without the paper on there, this fence pitches back at this angle, just slightly. And it's the same, both front and rear. And it's the same in every position. So it's the fence that's doing it. It's not the table. It's reasonably slight. And I checked the fence with the straight edge. The fence is flat, straight flat. So really there's no adjustment. I've looked this whole thing over. This whole piece here is all just molded plastic that sits on top of this rail. There is plastic here, like a 2 layers of plastic right here. And it would be possible to glue a nut on this and double nut with a screw that goes through, so you can make an adjustment. That's one option. You could always just glue a shim to the bottom of this, and that would solve your problem pretty much forever, but it wouldn't be adjustable. So it is what it is. So this is one of the hardest things to show you guys in a video, but is the riving knife here aligned with the blade? And this one, I don't know if you can see that carbide tooth right back here at the top of the screen. It is off just the tiniest bit that way. So I'm not really that worried about it, but why not mess with it? Why not? Half a turn to a quarter turn, it says. 5mm Allen. We'll go half a turn. And there you are. Now I can move my riving knife. I can align it with the blade. And you can go either way. Look at that. All angles. That is beautiful. Let's see if we can't get it perfect. Man, it's hard for you guys to see, but if you look here, you can see the carbide tip of that blade on either side of that riving knife right there. And that is, I think, the easiest riving knife adjustment I've ever done. So we have our tilt all the way at 0, which should be 90. That pointer is pretty darn close to 0. So let's check our blade. 90 degrees, zeroed out, close, about half a degree off from the factory. So I have the blade at almost perfect 90. The stopper is this 10mm nut or bolt right here. So we're going to loosen this up. There's a tab in the back, and we're just going to make sure this is contacting where I have the blade set now, and this will now stop the blade in that spot. When this swings, it'll just contact this plate, and that's it. So now that I've moved the stopper, if I loosen up the tilt mechanism, bring it till it stops and lock it, it should go right back to 90.1, which it does. The stopper for 45 is the same, just a little easier to see because it's up here. All there is a little plate back here that you line up with this to stop it when it swings. So what if you want to do some cross cutting and you're going to take the fence off the saw? What do you do with the fence? Simple enough. The fence stores upside down, and it locks in exactly the same way it would if it was on top of the table. Flip the latches up. You can even flip this around. Push it right on in there. Folding the saw up is super easy. There's these little feet on the left side that stick out, and these pads right here sort of, these feet stick out to protect the miter gauge, or, you know, if you have the fence here. Actually, I think if the fence is here, it sticks out a little bit past the table. Simply press the red button, fold the legs in. The front left side leg has this little latch system. Flip that over, undo the latch, and now it's threaded, and you can turn it to adjust. And then you just relatch it when you're done. And it's secure. The amount of adjustments and innovation that went into this little inexpensive table saw is kind of astounding, really. I have this flipped over. Let's look at our rail locking system. Got a heavy spring. You got a turnbuckle right here with a jam nut on the end of it for adjustment. So if you need to tension this more to secure your fence, easy adjustment. This fence is rock solid now. I don't see any reason to fiddle with this, but it's there when you need it. The fun fact about job site table saws and universal motors versus induction motors. This, because it's lightweight, it's high torque, it spins up fast. This is a universal motor. And when we start it, it is loud as hell. We got our earmuffs, and we're gonna grab some safety glasses and let's start cutting stuff. All right, so we got our table saw. We're gonna use my new desk as an outfeed table, because why have a desk in your house that's not full of sawdust? We got our trusty Harbor Freight guy, and let's start ripping some wood and see how this thing cuts, because in the end, that's really what matters. Two by fours, no problem at all. This little guy rips. 4x4, pressure treated. It's cedar tone, so it doesn't look green, but it's pressure treated. Let's see how that does. We'll go full depth. And we might just break through. The 1/2-inch plywood, no trouble at all. Let's try a little 3/4. I imagine that'll be the same. Let's finish this up with a little bit of red oak. I managed to screw this up already, so. Dust collection? Freaking good. I'm impressed, man. There's like almost nothing here. This is seriously the amount of dust that's on the floor. That's it. There you go. Before you mention the shim, know that that's not the saw's fault. The saw actually adjusts right there. I'm just too lazy to adjust everything because the floor in here is pretty crooked, and just about any time I move anything, it is wobbly. So I just kick this shim around and I shove it under everything. It lives on the floor. It's possibly the least amount of sawdust I've ever produced doing a video in this garage. So tell me what you guys think. I don't know if I could be more impressed than I am with this little table saw. It's small. There are some disadvantages. The size is one. It's not a huge table saw, but it only weighs 50 pounds. And you could put it on a shelf and just make it disappear until you need it. It is one of the best things, I think, in the budget category that I've reviewed so far. It's got a 3.5-inch rip. At 45, it's 2.5 inches. It went all the way through a 4x4, treated, no problem, like butter. 25 3/4, rip to the right, 14 to the left. It's plenty big enough for most people. It's probably big enough for me. Does it replace the Delta for me? Nah, I love the big ass Delta. That thing's awesome. But I have two complaints with this. The first one is the fence not being perpendicular to the table. I think it's an easy fix. I think I could overcome that. If you're doing thin stuff, it doesn't really matter because otherwise it's completely straight. The amount of adjustments on this is just awesome. The riving knife adjusts easy. It's probably the easiest one of any of the saws I've done. Being able to square the blade parallel to the miter slot without tools, it's incredible. I've never seen a saw with that. If you own a saw with that, throw a comment down and let us know. But half of these saws don't even tell you how to do it. The Delta doesn't even tell you how to do it in the owner's manual for that. It's ridiculous. The other problem, the other con that I have with this saw is this. It's too short. I'm 6'1". This is, I think it was 31 inches. Let's check. 33-inch working height is not enough for me. Bending over, I would have to do the half bend over when I'm using this, and I don't find it comfortable, and it will make my back hurt eventually, you know, like a day of doing this. New Year's Eve, a couple days ago, we were hanging out in here, and my friend's wife looked at this and said, "That is perfect." Now, she's probably, I'll guess, sorry, Rose, I'll guess and say 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", maybe. And she looks at my Delta table saw and says, "I can't use this thing. It's too high. I don't feel like I have control over the material," which is a problem. So she looked at this and said, "Man, it's perfect." So for me, it's a con, but if you're 5'9", this is probably a comfortable working height for you and not a problem at all. What a cool little saw. It is literally the best little saw. I wish I had a reason to keep it. Honestly, I would keep this in a second. If I needed a table saw and I was on a budget and I just wanted to cut stuff up, I would go buy this in a second. This is one of the best ones on the market, I think. Super cool. I mean, could you use it in a commercial setting? Could you use it on a real job site? Absolutely. I don't see any reason why not. Time will tell if the motor in the saw is gonna last, you know, a long time. But initial quality, absolutely spot on. Would I like to pay another, 30 bucks to have telescoping legs for another maybe 4 or 5 inches of working height? I would love that. To me, it would make it absolutely perfect. But you can't have everything. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please hit subscribe, hit like on this one. It very much helps out the channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.